Good day, everybody, and it's great to see everybody in the class, and it's great to share this time with you as well. Hope you're having a good day. Today we want to talk a little bit about succession planning, which has been the focus of what we've been talking about. It's actually quite an interesting subject. For the most part, succession planning is identifying the person who would fill your position if and when it becomes vacant. Unfortunately, that's not really the best definition that we should use for succession planning. Too often, people use succession planning to identify the next job that they want. For instance, Jim's going to leave and I want Jim's job, so we should have succession planning in our organization so that I can get Jim's job when he leaves. Instead, what we view succession planning as today is, if somebody was to leave, what duties and tasks do they currently do that it is imperative that the organization have done in the future? So in the case of Jim again, if Jim was to leave today, what duties and tasks does Jim have that absolutely need to be done? And who can do those duties? So it may be the entirety of his job needs to be done, or it may just be that there are certain duties that need to be done that now that Jim is not here anymore. So it's quite a marked difference from what people anticipate succession planning is to how it's actually being utilized in the workplace today. So what are some of the most important tasks? And how do you identify what tasks that are available to be done when somebody leaves? Well, you look at the impact of the organization. So if that task was not done, what would happen to the organization? The more of those tasks that pile up, then they may turn into actually having to replace the entire job or have somebody fill that entire job. And that's the key. So you look at the duties and the tasks that need to be completed, and then you either determine if that's a complete job and you need to hire somebody in that place, or you identify prior to that person leaving who can do those jobs. Once you identify who can do those jobs, your next step is to train that individual to perform those tasks. All of this, as we learn in succession planning, is really done before somebody leaves. And the reason it's done before somebody leaves is once somebody leaves, there's a certain period of chaoticness where you're stressed, even quite nervous about who's going to do certain tasks. And so what succession planning allows you to do is to identify those in advance, determine who can do them, train them to do it, so that when that eventuality occurs, it's what we would call seamless. So identify the person who has the ability, maybe even the time, train them on how to do these new tasks, and then if and when those tasks need to be done, they can step in and do it. That's one of the most important parts associated with succession planning. Another aspect that I would just bring up is succession planning is often wildly supported by people who work inside the organization. They want an organization to identify who would do the job of this higher level individual, higher classification, before that person leaves, and then to identify that person and train the person to do the job. This is a great thing because then you don't have to recruit. In some way, someone's just given the job. It also precludes and prevents any outside recruitment. So if you have a succession plan that identifies the person that's going to get the job when that position comes open, then that person who's identified to get that job doesn't have to go through any kind of recruitment and certainly doesn't have to compete with people outside the organization. I find this to be problematic, and I would recommend that organizations not do that. I think that you should always recruit to find the best person for the job. But in the interim, use your succession plan to identify those tasks that need to be done and who can do those tasks in the interim before somebody is hired, if you need to hire a full position. One final comment. It is easier for someone on the inside of an organization, a current employee, to be successful in a recruitment than an outside individual, mainly because they know the organization, that's policies, procedures. They probably know the people who are hiring. They know the culture. So they're more apt to know what the organization is looking for and the type of people that are successful in that organization. So internal recruitments tend to do well on promotionals. And that's why you should not preclude people from the outside from at least interviewing. You may, in certain instances, find somebody that's the best person for the job. And in the organization, Whenever we hire the right person for the job, all of us benefit. Because if the talent doesn't work for your organization, it's going to work for somebody else. And you certainly don't want them to work for your competitor. There's a little bit about succession planning. We'll certainly have more of these videos. Hope you enjoyed them. And I look forward to chatting with you, of course, in the future. Enjoy the day, everyone.